Hello everyone. Today we're gonna have some fun because I'm going to attempt to play a beautiful standard written by Coltrane called Naima, but only using Gypsy Jazz Licks. And it gives me the chance to talk a little bit about the difference between the approach to improvisation of a Gypsy jazz guitar player, like a typical Gypsy jazz guitar player, and maybe a jazz guitar player from a more modern style, like BeBop or contemporary jazz. And it's funny, of course, to do that with this song Naima because it has a bunch of very weird chords. And the idea started when I uploaded a backing track for this song, because I think it's hilarious to make a Gypsy jazz backing track for every song in existence, so that when people search for, oh, I want to play Giant Steps or Maiden Voyage or Naima, and they find the Gypsy jazz backing track, I think that's pretty funny. So when I was making this backing track, I was struggling with finding chords that I could use for a rhythm style, right? Because if you play Gypsy jazz rhythm, use kind of voices like this, right? Like those kind of voicings, and there's no voicings like that fit on Naima. So I was searching for the right voicings to play, and then when I figured them out, I was like, oh, actually, they're pretty normal voicings. So what I'm using, for instance, I'm using B flat minor for the first chord. The first chord is E flat sus. I'm using B flat minor. Of course, there's a bass playing in E flat. And I'm going to E flat minor, that's original chord. And then it's interesting because the next chord is supposed to be, according to the real book or according to many videos, they're playing A major 7 sharp 5. To G, same chord, to A flat major 7. But when I was listening to the original recording, that's not what they're playing at all, right? The original recording, they're playing different chords for the theme and the solo, by the way. I don't know why that is, but in the theme, the piano player, I think it's Winston Kelly, maybe it's McCoy Tyner, he's just playing A major 7 to G major sharp 5 to A flat major, right, with the E flat in the bass, so you get. That's what's happening in the theme, and during the solo, Winston Kelly is just playing A major to G major. I don't know why, maybe because it's a little bit easier to improvise over, but nowadays people are playing this major 7 sharp 5 chord. Or sharp 4. That's what I found in most versions. So when I had to make a backing track for that, I was searching for a chord that I could play rhythm on, because this chord is not nice to play rhythm. It's just too high voice, right? There's no real body to it. And this voicing is too low when I want to have an E flat in the bass. So I found, oh, you know what? This works. So I was playing, and then I was playing. Like, wait a minute, that's just F7 sharp 9 with E flat in the bass, right? To E flat 7 sharp 9. Those are just regular chords I would use in a Gypsy jazz standard, if such a thing exists as well. And I have many lines that fit on that. So the A part is not a problem to play Gypsy jazz lines over. And then the B part, first chord, B major 7 with a B flat in the bass. That's what's played originally, and also that's what everyone is playing on YouTube. And then they're going to B flat 7 sharp 9 13. I think that's also original. Back to the first chord. For rhythm, I was just playing. I'm not really happy with that chord rhythm. It's a little bit too high voice. You can hear it on the backing track, but I went with it anyway. So that works great. Back to the first chord. And then we're gonna go, I think the real book says something like E7 13 or sharp 11 with a B flat in the bass. But for me, that's just B flat 7 altered. Back to the first chord again. And then we're gonna go to A flat over B flat, or F minor over B flat. I was playing this in the rhythm. And then it says in the real book, it says F sharp 7 over B flat. So I've seen this voicing. I've seen this. I've seen this. I just went with this, which is basically D flat minus 6/9. Right, this kind of, but then with 6/9 over B flat. So I think that works great. It's exactly the same thing as all the other versions, but it's easier to play for rhythm guitar player. And also it's easier during improv because it opens up a lot of options, especially for a Gypsy Jazz guitar player. So now let's explore some solo ideas. Let's start with the A part. So we're gonna go from B flat minor 7 to E flat minor 7 to F7 sharp 9 to E flat 7 sharp 9 to A flat major 7. So the first two chords, they're just minor chords. So you can do all your minor stuff. On B flat minor 7, you can both play your B flat minor 6 things. Even that if you want, but maybe not. Maybe a little bit too much Gypsy Jazz. Or you could do the Django minor 6 thing. Or you could do your D flat major 7 things. Right, all the D flat major stuff that you know. You could even do E flat 7 stuff. And then on E flat minor 7, the next chord you could do the same thing, but now it's E flat minor. Of course, then you get stuff like. So then we're going to go to F7 altered, F7 sharp 9. So I would just stick to altered lines, typical Gypsy Jazz lines, they work fine. So F7, you can play the diminished, A diminished. Although you have to be careful with the note C, it doesn't really work on this chord. So if you do that, if you play diminished stuff, don't land there, just go on. Really try to get that altered sound. And then do the same thing for E flat. Again, be careful with the B flat. What you could do when you hit the B flat, let's say you're playing diminished arpeggio, and you're on the B flat, just go up half note and play that E minor. Something that I would do a lot. And of course, because it's two chords, the same kind of quality of chords, you can just play the same line twice and just move your hand 2 frets down. And although that might sound like a bad idea, because it's maybe too repetitive, it actually sounds pretty good. Let's say I do something like this. I think that's pretty cool. Or and then we're going to go to A flat major 7. Just for regular A flat major stuff. You could even do the Django thing. But again, that's taken a little bit too far into Gypsy Jazz territory. Let me play a little solo on the A part and see what happens. As you can see, all those Gypsy Jazz licks, they sound great, I think, on top of a song like Naima. I wasn't thinking about any exotic scales or any weird arpeggios, just the regular stuff I'm playing. So let me say something more about that, right? Like the way to think about improvisation in Gypsy Jazz is very different, especially when you go to the source of it here in the Netherlands. There's this thing called Dutch Gypsy Jazz. We're basically talking about the way that Stochelo plays and all the people here in the Netherlands that are influenced by Stochelo. He himself would say, well, no, my style comes from listening a lot to Vaso and Fapi. And that is, of course, the truth. But the reality is that many people are most influenced by Stochelo because he was the first artist in that style that started recording a lot. So I heard his albums a lot. And then when I started working with him, I heard him play that stuff live. So a lot of younger players are influenced a lot by Stochelo, not only in the Netherlands, but around the world. Now that has become a style called Dutch Gypsy Jazz. And the way you learn that style is not by learning arpeggios per se or scales. It's by learning the phrases that Stochelo plays and understanding when he plays those phrases. And I always make the comparison to learning a language. Let's say you want to learn Dutch. Let's say you're not Dutch, and we sit down together. Then the Sinti way, right, the Dutch Gypsy Jazz way would be for me to tell you something about, okay, when you are in a restaurant and you want to order a meal, say this thing, right? What do you want to order? I want to order some bread. So then I would say, okay, repeat after me. Kan ik wat brood bestellen, right? And then you would try your best to say that same thing, and maybe you say it a little bit wrong, and I say it again, no, say, you pronouncing that word bread, brood, wrong. You have to say it like this, and you would do it again. And that's exactly the same way that they teach each other improvisation, right? You would go to Stochelo, like Moses would maybe go to Stochelo, and as Stochelo, what do you play on minor swing on? And then Stochelo would say, well, I would play this. And then Moses would try to copy it, a young Moses, maybe like 8 years old, and of course he would make some mistakes, and then Stochelo would say, no, you're playing it too fast, or you're playing the wrong frets, or I cannot hear all the notes. And then Moses would go to his room and practice that all day until he can play that. And then he would maybe ask someone else, what do you play on? And then someone would say, well, I play this. And then he would try to copy that. And then that way you build your vocabulary by learning phrases and more phrases, and then you realize, oh, this phrase also works on a tune like Joseph Joseph when this chord hits, or when I play this 2 frets down, I can play it on I Can Give You Anything But Love. Right, stuff like that. So now let's say Moses comes to me, he said, I want to really play Naima, but the chords are very strange. What do I play on it? Then I would just show him these phrases. Say, well, the first chord, just think this. And then, of course, he would immediately know what to play. But let's say he has no idea. Then I would say, well, why don't you play something like... And he would just copy it. Now, this is a line that I actually learned from Moses, so it's the other way around. But you see how that goes? And then I would say for the second chord, it's the same. You can do it here. So that's how it goes. So when I teach improvisation in my videos, that's what I do. But the sources in my video vary. It's not only Stochelo. It can be anyone. It can be Charlie Parker. It can be Joe Pass. It can be Sonny Rollins. It can be Oscar Peterson. It can be anyone that I like the lines of. But for this video, we stick to Gypsy Jazz. So let's go to the bridge. So the first chord, B major 7 on top of B flat. It's just B major 7. So I would stick to lines like... And then we're gonna go to this chord. B flat 7, flat 9, 13. Now, of course, if you want to be completely correct, we're gonna play this diminished halftone whole tone scale. And lines that are derived from that, like this. Or stuff like... It's a great sound. But as a Gypsy Jazz player, I would immediately think of a song like Jukin Juki, which is a Django song, which starts like this. C diminished. Because basically that's what's happening, but now it's in B. So it's B to B diminished. B diminished, you say, no, it's B flat 7. Yes, but B flat 7, sharp 9, 13. On top of that, you can play a B diminished chord. So you get B major 7 to this B diminished, but both with a B flat in the bass. So, and when I show this to a Gypsy Jazz player, he would just be thinking about B flat 7 altered, and then he would play altered lines down and the diminished lines up. So of course it's not completely correct, because when you play altered lines, you're playing flat 13, right? You're not playing the normal 13, but it would still sound nice because it's such a strong sound. So I would be playing B flat major 7 to B flat 7 altered, but in a specific way. So altered lines down, so either the altered scale or the Phrygian dominant. Of course, I wouldn't be thinking about the scales, I would be thinking about lines. And then diminished arpeggios up. So D diminished arpeggio, or F, or A flat, or B. It's all the same arpeggio, of course, but it's just a starting note. So that happens twice, right? B to B diminished, and again. Then it comes B flat 7 altered. Well, so we stay on B flat 7 altered. So now I can play 2 bars of that. And then we're gonna go back to B. So it's gonna be B, B flat 7 altered, B, B flat 7 altered for 2 bars, back to B. And then we're gonna go to B flat sus, or A flat over B flat, or F minor over B flat. I would be thinking about F minor and do the same thing I would do in the first 2 chords, but now it's all F minor. And then we're gonna go to this chord, right? So I would just be thinking about D flat minor, and I would do all my D flat minor stuff. So you have a lot of that minor chord in this tune. So the bridge is actually very easy. Just B major and B flat 7 interchanging, but one point there's 2 bars of B flat 7, and then we're gonna go to F minor to C sharp minor. So let me improvise on the whole tune, because we have all the chords now. And again, I'll only be using Gypsy Jazz phrases or Gypsy Jazz licks. You see, it works fine. At least I think so. Maybe you hate it. If you hate it, let me know. I like it. And in fact, I think it's a really fun way to approach this tune because the Gypsy Jazz Licks culture, let's call it like this, is very rich, right? There are so many sources you can consult and they all have their little variations on all of these licks. So if you just transcribe Gypsy Jazz players or look at my channel for my series called Gypsy Jazz Fridays, all those phrases that you find there, there's room for those phrases in Naima, which is quite surprising even to me, because when I was making the backing track for this, I didn't think so at first. But of course, when I found the voicings, I was like, oh yeah, of course I can just play my regular stuff on it. I hope this was useful. And of course, this opens the door for me to try and do this with lots of tunes that you wouldn't think of when you think about Gypsy Jazz. So let's see what else I can come up with. Maybe you have some suggestions for tunes, maybe some Wayne Shorter stuff, maybe some Herbie Hancock tunes. Give me your suggestions and I'll take a look at it, and then I'll make a backing track, a Gypsy Jazz backing track, and then I'll make a video like this where I just solo on that track using typical Gypsy Jazz phrases, but make it work in that more contemporary context. If you like the video, please like it. Take a look at my Patreon if you're interested in tap. Of course, this lesson doesn't have any tap, but I think I'll make another lesson about Naima for my patrons, where I just show some phrases that you can play, and I will make tap for that. Hopefully, I will see you in the next video. Bye!